out a guitar you can no longer get. And it's basically a plea to Gibson, please make these again. This is a 1999 to 2000 era Steinberger Spirit GU Deluxe Trans Flame Blue. Almost as bad as Ibanez for names. Anyway, I picked this one up used. I used to have one back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and always loved it as a guitar. However, it had one big problem at the time, and that was string availability. It was kind of early days of internet as well, and these were out of fashion really. Wasn't like in the late 80s. And getting strings was really difficult. I'll address that straight away actually. Now, not a problem, because Thomann, Steinberger, numerous companies actually make a little attachment to go on the end of this, so you can use a single ball end string and you just clamp it up the top with an Allen key and you're good to go. So anyway, this has got GHS Boomers double ball end strings designed for this guitar. Now, this model was made as a kind of entry level into the world of Steinberger. It was at the time, I think Gibson had just acquired them and Kramer and were bringing out a whole load of almost reissues. But these were made relatively inexpensively. But I always thought they were a phenomenal guitar, and I kept looking and looking and looking, and eventually I did find one. Now, they still make the little cricket bat version, almost identical, apart from this has a little bit more timber. But in today's world, when you look around, you see Ibanez making headless guitars, you've got Kiesel, you've got Harley Benton, you've got numerous brands all making headless guitars. I just hit myself in the face with it. Not many of them come with a trem though, and the Steinbergers did, and it's a really, really good trem. It's not the trans trem of the super duper really expensive one, but I think you'll be paying 5,000-6,000 euros now for one of those if you can find one. These were not that dear, about 500 euros. And for the money, I thought they were phenomenal. Playability of these is exceptional. Now, partly because they have a 0 fret. So the string height at the first nut, if you have a look at the first nut, the first fret is incredibly low. Intonation problems not an issue. Also with this type of guitar, it's a floating trem, like a Floyd Rose in a way. I'll take this off here just to show you. However, each saddle is adjustable, so intonation can be spot on, and it's got a lovely little trick in the back here. There is a tiny little lever. If you flick that up, this guitar becomes a fixed bridge. So you can quickly drop this down to drop D and back up, and it doesn't affect anything at all. It's really, really good. If you break a string mid-set, you can just lock it and all the rest of your strings are in tune, just as if it was a fixed bridge. If you're playing something that's ridiculously heavy, chuggy palm muting, and you don't want any of that floating trem warble, again, lock it off for that song and you're good to go. I love things like that are such a simple little design. Anyway, today, these are hard to get, so I really don't know the purpose of the video other than to say, Gibson, come on, make them. I'm in my sitting room that's completely stuffed full of gear at the moment, as you see. I'm building my studio, but it's not there yet. We now have floor and walls and some electricity, so it's a good start. Anyway, today I'm just using a Line 6 Pod Go into my little monitors at the back, so nothing fancy. It's just to give you a few little sounds. I'll go to some clean And you might have guessed with the little bit of music at the start, the reason I wanted one of these as a kid, the reason I always loved these was because of Vito Bratta and White Lion. Absolutely loved White Lion. Anyway, here is a clean sound. A bit of delay on it, a bit of chorus. It's just it's called Placator Clean. It's the Friedman BE clean channel, line 6's interpretation. It's quite a nice kind of clean. So bridge. Now, these are EMG pickups, but they're not actives. They're called Select. They were quite a budget range. Back in the day, I was not that fond of them running into some of the amps I had. I think I was mainly using a Laney. But there's so much power now with the EQ on likes of modelers, or even putting an EQ in the loop of one of these real amps. The pickups are not that vital now. They're not super high output, I will say that. So that's to my preference. I would rather run more gain and have a lower output pickup than run less gain and have a high output pickup. So bridge, position 2, that kind of out of phase. Single coil in the middle. Not loud in here, it's just an idea. So the out of phase position 4, it's quite nice, you know, perfectly usable, great sound. And the neck, a little bit louder, but quite well balanced. If you go super high output humbuckers and a single coil, sometimes those out of phase sounds and the middle, the single coil sound, are just way too quiet compared to the humbuckers. Excuse me. This way, at least, lower output humbuckers means there's a bit more balance across the range. And like I said, at the time, 26 years ago, I wasn't that enthralled with these pickups. Today, I'm actually a little bit wiser. I'm quite happy with them. I'm not going to change them. I don't see the need. I've got guitars. There's a Charvel there. There's a Kramer there. There's another Yamaha? No, Jackson. That have Seymour Duncan JBs. I've got one with DiMarzio Evolutions. EVHs, there's PAF Pros, there's a whole load of pickups there, so if I want a different sound, I'll just pick up a different guitar. Now, again, a slightly lower output pickup, tons of gain here. What's not to like? I know the bit of trem use there, it stays in tune, and I'll go to the neck because using a lot of gain like that, you'll very rarely use position 4. There's position 4. It's okay, but neck pickup. Again, not super dull. It's got a bit of cut for a neck pickup. It actually works really well. So, if you can get them, get hold of these. They're great. This one I've been very lucky, to be honest. I'll show you why. I'm staring at the back of it here because if you have a look there, It came from a shop called Sound Control, and it still has got the magic plastic on it. Sound Control went out of business about 18 years ago. So this has not been used. This has not been played. I popped new strings on it. GHS made strings still for these. Popped them on. Takes 2 minutes to fit strings on these. Strung it up and I was back to being 20-year-old again with the Steinberger. I really don't understand why they're not made. Not with the full body. I just don't understand why they wouldn't do it. So, I will show you the other thing I do love about this. So, we have it in tune, roughly in tune, and say you do break a string. Lock it off. So there we go. And if you will need to change a string on a Steinberger, it's like 1, 2, 3, 5, maybe 8 or 9 turns of the, a bit ambitious, there we go, and just pops out. There we have the string. As you see, it is double ball end. And so you get your new string, sit it in the head, pop it back in the bridge, and that's it restrung. So it was a great design at the time. So the little cricket bat still uses the same version of that. There's no real point to this video because they don't make these. I want them to make them again. I would have another one if they did. It makes a fantastic spare guitar. It makes a fantastic guitar for having in the house. It makes a great little travel guitar, as you see. It is not, it's basically the length of the string. So compared to anything else, it's like this much shorter. Sounds are good, stability is great, the neck is absolutely gorgeous. It's quite thin, but it's still got a bit of a curve. It's not a super flat shredder neck. Yes, you can shred on it. The action can be so low. But it's not an Ibanez Wizard neck. It's not like my Yamaha RGXs there. It's similar, I would say, more to the EVH and the Kramer. Very similar to that. That Kramer Tiger Stripe there. Which is, I've got a video on that as well. But I do promise I'm going to be making a lot more videos. I do promise to stick to my promise of making more videos. I just need to get some studio building done. Then I'll do a rundown on a whole load of amplifiers I've picked up. A couple of Black Star tube amps, HD Club 50, Series 1, Marshall GCM 2000, Marshall JVM 205H. I have a Laney GH50L, sort of Paul Gilbert era 1990s Laney. Below that there is a PV 6505 made in the USA. I've got 6505 plus combo, a nice little VHT combo. So I've got lots and lots of things to talk about. Friedman IRX pedals, even this little Line 6 Pod Go. I've not done a video on that. I've had it for 2 years. And I really need to do that. First though, studio. Secondly, back to work. I'm on tour with Heat in the spring, doing Spain and Portugal. Then I'm off to the Baltic nations with Primal Fear. Then to South America with Primal Fear. And following that, it's the summer tours, the festivals with Avantasia, Primal Fear and Heat, bouncing all around Europe. So if you're at any of the shows that those bands are at and you want to give me a shout up, I'll gladly come by and say hello. So, thank you very much. Partition Gibson, partition your politicians. There's lots of important things going on in the world, but I definitely think Steinberger are missing a trick. Gibson are missing a trick because they have a design that works flawlessly on the shelf. You know, make them. Please make them. Everybody else is either really expensive, like Kiesel's, great guitars, but the Ibanez doesn't have a floating bridge. The Harley Benton doesn't have a floating bridge. It doesn't have a trem. These things matter to some of us, especially of that era. So, thank you very much. Comment below. Do you have one? Do you want one? You're not getting this one. So, thank you and have a good day. Bye bye.